Horses are beautiful animals that can be used in quite a few different ways, such as pulling logs, driven for a carriage, ridden, and so much more. Horses in the wild were originally only bay, brown, black, and chestnut because it was easier to camouflage into their surroundings. With those colors, they would draw less attention to themselves and would be less likely found by a predator. Things began to change when horses began to become more domesticated. More people were looking for lighter colored horses and things that were a little bit different to become a statement piece. Though over time their popularity slowly decreased and converted more into the solid coat colors. The most likely reason was during times of conflict. As there was increased development and advancement in weaponry and battle tactics, lighter colored horses were easier to spot and target in a larger group. Now, this didn't mean that lighter colored horses no longer existed, they just weren't as common and they weren't as popular. Fast forward a little bit, and we'll find that instead of 4 main popular colors, we now have 8. So these 8 groups of colors are bay, black, chestnut, leopard, tobiano, sabino, silver, and cream. All the other colors you find will be grouped under one of these categories depending on which color it originated from. But we'll focus more on that piece when we get into genetics. Under these main new 8 group of horses, the popularity of multicolored horses skyrocketed, and soon we had even more variations, including the sorrel, the palomino, the buckskin, or also called dun, gray, dapple gray, grullo, champagne, roan, and many, many other colors. Now, not only do horses have unique coat colors, but they also can have unique markings. So markings are another feature that can distinguish horses from each other. There are markings on the head, the legs, mane, and their tail. These different markings can also be breed specific, meaning that in order to be classified as a certain breed of horse, they would need to have certain markings to qualify. Facial markings, or markings that are on the horse's head, are usually described by their shape and location. There may be more than one marking, and if that's the case, you'll name them separately. Sometimes the eye color can change as well, but it's not consistently seen in all of the different markings. The more common facial markings are going to be the star, the blaze, bald face, the strip, and the badger. You'll also find that you can have a combination of some of them, such as the star and stripe combined, the stripe and snip combined, or a star and snip. A star is a white marking that can be found between or above the horse's eyes. If a stripe or a blaze is present, a star must be significantly wider than those markings in order to be separately identified. If your horse has a blaze marking, that means they have a wide white stripe that runs down the middle of the horse's face. Bald face is a very wide blaze that's extending to or past the eyes. Some, but not all, of these horses will also have blue eyes. Another marking is the stripe. It's also known as a strip or a race, and that is a narrow white stripe that runs down the middle of the horse's face. A horse with a badger marking has a small outline of color around the edge of their face. It almost looks as if they have a bald pattern, but removed the middle of the pattern to only leave the outside edge. Horses can also have a small marking on their muzzle called a snip. It's located between the nostrils on a horse's nose. So the last marking a horse can have on their faces is actually not a coat color, but an eye color. So most horses have brown colored eyes, but they can have some other colors. These colors can include blue, green, yellow, amber, or even hazel. Most of these eye colors are different variations that resulted from a white pattern or a dilution. Some horses will also have unique tail and mane markings. Now, there isn't specific names for these different markings, but it does add a little bit more uniqueness to the horses. Most of the time, these colors originate from the horse's body color and go into the crest and then into the mane and will continue that color pattern. So the last marking that we're going to talk about is the markings that are found on a horse's leg. They can have different variations, but there's 6 main categories. So in order to identify which one of these categories it falls under, you have to see how far up it extends the horse's leg. That's how we identify them. You can have a horse with a heel marking. You can have a horse with a coronet, a pastern, a sock or an anklet, a half stocking or half cannon, as well as a stocking. A marking on the heel means that there is white that is on the back of the horse's heel. It can either cover the whole back piece of it or just along the outsides. If your horse has a coronet marking, that means that there's a thin band of white that's right above the horse's hoof on their leg. If your horse has a pastern marking, that means that the white starts above the horse's hoof and goes up to the horse's pastern, but doesn't cover the fetlock on the horse's leg. After that, if the white continues and it goes up to the fetlock joint, it would be called a sock or an anklet. If it still goes up the horse's leg and it goes up part way to the horse's cannon bone, then you would have a half stocking or half cannon. The last one is the stocking, which covers the entire lower leg and sometimes goes past their knee. Now, there are some other unusual markings, such as ermine spots, which are dark spots that are found inside of the white markings. There's the knee patches, which is the white that's on the horse's knee, and it doesn't come close or touch the horse's hooves. There is also another form of marking called mapping, which is when a horse's stockings come to a long, ragged point at the front and are outlined in gray. Now, not all horses will have these. These are a little bit more unique markings, but it is a possibility. Having all these different markings not only helps a horse to become more unique, but it makes them easier to identify in a group. If you're looking for a specific horse, you can look for the body color that you need. You can look for any body markings that they have. You can check the color of their eyes and look at the markings on their legs. By using those tools, you're able to distinguish horses apart from each other and find the one that you're looking for.